and welcome back to EMEA Masters Finals, live from Montpellier in France. K-Corp takes us to the first and hopefully not the last match point of this series, guys. What an absolute domination on the side of the LFL team, especially in this second game. Yamato, you have...
Oh, he put the blue glasses on.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
All I see is blue, you know? It's just,
yeah, we just see
the
blue
match with
everywhere.
the team, everything is blue. It's been complete domination. I thought Movistar would be stronger in the early game. Maybe they would be sharp in the team fight timers.
Yeah.
But everything has been better for K-Corp.
And it's been a question on how they would fall back on their feet if things start to collapse from them. So far, they didn't find the answer, with K-Corp cosplaying a bit of G2 in the second game here with the bot lane and not having the adaptation that we were looking for on the side of Movistar Riders. But trouble, it all started with a bot lane invade.
Okay, not
yeah.
success. It all started level 1, and I'm like, if there's one thing I know is that you don't late invade a Braum. The Braum late invades you.
Yeah.
But now you see the Lulu, you get Supa versus the Ghost. They seek at least a little bit overextended over in the bush. But you have a Braum. He procs the Guardian as well. And they trade 1-for-1, of course, with the kill going over to the Azir. But that's great news for Movistar, right? Supa grabs on kill 2. Yes, no. What? No. Because the bot lane from Movistar overextend right here, having that kill onto Supa and playing over aggressive. And as you'll see, Synchro doesn't stop there. He flashes through the pit, wraps around. And on the other hand side, Isma takes the long way around, and by the time he's there, his bot is already dead.
It just was bizarre to me, like so many of the choices that Movistar made throughout this game. Like even as Trouble was saying there, like late invading. I mean, look at where Isma was. He was on his top side. Like he was miles away from that. It was always going to be Karmine Corp showing up first. And this decision-making throughout the early stages has continued to plague them all throughout this series.
And that's the issue I had with the way Movistar Riders are planning their game plan so far. It's the fact that everything feels off, Yamato. You want to stay in the game. You want to keep on being creative. You want to bring in the plays, but play on better timings, I think, would be best for them here, because this seems completely off what they're trying to do.
It just feels like Karmine Corp have such a good read of what's coming next. It's like they're always opening through mid, finding ways to connect. And in 2 games now, we've had Movistar Riders play very melee-heavy compositions. This time around, they have a Lulu with the Sejuani, Silas, Renekton. The synergy that is required in order for you to actually compete in the early game, you need to do it mistake-free, and at the same time, you need to make sure that your champions kind of align, because if you can't fight your way out of situations with Silas and Renekton and Sejuani, then you might as well just surrender the game almost.
But that's the thing. Remember what we said coming into today? It was like, oh, well, you know, you think there's 5 Movistar players, then 6, 7, 8 come out of the woodwork every time you go to make a play. They're not even showing up with all their members. They're not playing off of, hey, we have bot lane push, we have mid lane push, now we go for the invade. It's, hey, well, Isma's invading by himself. We should probably shove mid wave because we kind of need to be there to help him. But if we look bot lane, well, the Kog'Maw has control of bot lane. So it's like nothing is coherent in the way that they want to play. And some of the strengths that we saw through them in the playoffs are just being pushed aside by Karmine Corp here. As Yamato said, they've just reading them so well.
There's too many sides they need to fight on here. Honestly, K-Corp comes so prepared. And I want to give some shout out to the man in the mid lane, Seiken. We've talked about him, consistent member throughout every success that Karmine Corp had in the past. And here for me, when I think about this game, of course we can talk about Kalist, but Seiken is doing God's work here.
What an absolute machine. Now all of those Aussie fans, you know, in the BO1s, in the previous BS5s, they make more and more sense every time. I had a little bit of criticism towards Saken in the reviews of the K-Corp games in the LFL. Every K-Corp fan said, wait for Saken on stage, wait for Saken on EMEA Masters. Both combined makes an absolute demon.
I'm starting to get worried, you know, because Movistar were like, well, Nila was the problem, ban. Then they were like, Senna's the problem, ban. Yaster's the problem, ban. How many bans do you have?
Saken is the problem, how do we ban him?
Exactly.
Just ban the player.
If you're going to ban Azir, he has the rise as well. So it's like, what do you do?
But even when you look at those bans, right? Like we go back to game 1, it was like LeBlanc, Ari, Tristana, Talia, Kaisa that can be put in his mid lane. It's
Azir?
like everything. The Azir was gone as well. It was like, what the hell do you do? Like you're tossing everything at this mid lane and he's still coming out looking fantastic. And it does just feel like, again, it's the time for Seiken. I mean, potentially 4th title here from the fact that you're looking at Cabo, potentially 3rd title here for him. Like the undisputed best top laner at the moment in the EMEA Masters. This team just looks unstoppable.
That's the thing. What do you do when you're on the side of Movistar Riders here to make things better? Because you gotta be careful in draft. You gotta be careful about flex picks. You gotta be careful about comfort picks, about veterans, about rookies on the bot lane. He's only 17 years old and he's smashing everyone today. Kalist has been impressive. His performance, I don't even know how to describe it. He started this year in the LFL, and right now, I think it's fair to say that he's one of the best AD carries we have in the ERLs, Yamato.
It's so illegal that he has this many champions in his pool already. Like,
Look at
Kog'Maw, Yasuo, everything else. It's just nuts.
He's just stone cold too. Yes, the stories you hear from this team, he's the guy who's pushing the other players to play solo queue. He just comes in with the work ethic, the discipline, and the clinical precision to be able to play Yasuo, and then a Kog'Maw in best of 5, the first one on stage. It's just the start of a
I
perfect
can
career.
make it worse for Movistar. Targamas also has an ocean of a champion pool, you know? It's not like this guy just pulls out Yasuo. Targamas has played your Zyra as well, Lord. So his champion pool compared with Kalista and what them two actually got combined together is so scary.
I think the key thing, right, looking at Movistar Riders side, they went red side again. They need to, we've talked so much about Karmine Corp, but the internal conversation needs to be how can we find ourselves again? Because they have not performed up to par in what we expect Movistars to be. I think they need to find the new way to find that angle in the draft that is going to be the key for them to reinvent themselves in this series.
And I 100% agree. It's the reinvention, and I think it starts with the Zeri. They look great on the Zeri. Zeri is a very strong pick. But every single game, there's been an answer to it. Kog'Maw Braum in game 2. We got the Senna Targamas coming out in game number 1 as well. They have all these different picks, and even when you start to throw every ban into that bot lane, they're still coming out on top. I think that's where you reinvent it. Yeah,
Silas, what a disaster.
And that's
the
what has
Silas
been
event.
surprising me, honestly, is the fact that they keep on banning Nila, but they don't get the Zeri. And you know that it's actually a good champion against it. So I doubt the pick priorities on the side of Movistar Riders, but you have to come back now. You have to come back on stage, calm and collected, especially with the entire crowd cheering for Karmine. I don't think it's an easy situation to be him for them right now. Do you see a positive outcome and Movistar Riders being able to open the score on their side?
I feel like they absolutely can. I just feel like the adaptation hasn't necessarily been to the standard that we expected it, right? We talked with Yamato as well. It's like change sides. You're 0-2 down. You need to do something decisive. The drafts were not decisive enough. They look pretty similar. For me, the biggest point right here is Isma said, hey, I'll only be going bot side. No, go top. Marky has been so incredible on this Renekton. He's playing the Jax. Heck, he's pulled out the Kennen, the Gnar, anything. He is a carry top laner. Over in Spring, we sort of criticized it. We're like, this guy should play some tanks for his team, but he is predominantly a carry top laner. We have seen Isma play for him in this tournament, and he absolutely tore the map apart. You know that Supa is going to come online later on this Zeri. Get something going in these early stages. Grab that Riftfield, open up the map.
When you're faced with such a mountain, there is all the obstacles that are ahead of. It's
Mountain
very
or wall?
important. It's very important to not look up, rather take everything step by step. They cannot look too far. Remember that each game is decided by small moments. They need to take a deep breath and make sure that they find themselves somehow. Because now if you begin to think too much, that is where you lose yourself. I think Movistars have more to bring, but K-Corp, they are looking very sharp.
And let's see if KC can close it out with a clean 3-0 to make the home crowd erupt. GB Damada, quick shot, over to you for game 3.
Thank you so much, Law. And yes, I do think that Karmine Corp are going to close this one out 3-0. Welcome back to the caster desk as I'm once again joined by Jamada and Gulborg. I want to give them a huge shout out and say thank you for helping to guide me through this finals. It's been an honor to join the broadcast team. I want to give a special shout out as well to everybody who isn't here. From all the other languages, from all the other regions, from all the other English talent who have worked on EMEA Masters all year long. It is something special to be in this crowd. It is something powerful, and right now it is Karmine Corp looking to make it the 4-time champion, looking to pick it up in decisive fashion. Movistar on red side again. Jamada, I'm going to ask you the tough question. What on earth do they have to do? I'd like to see more changes. I mean, right now, like Yamato was saying, don't look at the whole mountain. Just go one step at a time. Let's see if they can figure out small answers.
They've not been having successful times
Nope.
pretty much anywhere on the map so far. I still believe that whilst not everything can be fixed with draft, you can certainly band-aid some issues. And again, I feel like Alvaro and Isma have been the backbone of Movistar, and this series they have simply not been given the tools to enable not only Movistar but themselves as a duo. That has to change here in this draft.
I mean, it comes down to the picks as well. You give it over the rail. What's the return pick? Oh, we take this Sejuani. Asir has been given over. What's the return pick? Oh, it's a Silas instead. And on a red side, you want to make the most out of your counter picks. We're just not getting it.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that either they full send it, it's Isma Nocturne time, it's full comfort. We need something where our players shine.
Let's find out what happens. Games 1 and 2. Poppy, Zaya, LeBlanc. I've been the 3 bans for Karmine Corp on the blue side. They are once again there.
Okay.
Nila Talia, and it was Maokai as well as Senna in the 2 previous games. Let's see if things change.
I don't want to see the
3 for 3.
Talia. I don't want to see the Talia. I think
Yeah,
the
leave it
Talia
open.
definitely has to. You get rid of it. I mean, it's still there.
Okay. You don't see the value for it, right?
I understand why it's there. No, actually, I don't. I don't. You're right. I don't.
I think this is one of the picks where realistically you leave it open and you make KC problem solve, you know, between either the Rel or the Talia priority, because it's clear that Frescawi is a very talented Talia player. Now they've gone towards this time the Senna ban, so the Maokai will remain on the table like it did in game number 2.
It's just gonna be real. It's just gonna be real. And then, okay, all right. Renekton will come through. We've seen it so many times, or at least I think it will, because Mark is still doing fine up in that top side. He's getting a turret for himself.
Screw it. Drop the Renekton prio. Now that I think about it.
That's the Maokai.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. All right, this is a different taste, I suppose, but Maokai needs
An AD
skirmishes
mid.
and an AD mid.
And that's the thing from Frescawi as well. He's not been able to come through with an AD mid. Karmine Corp pretty much throughout the entire tournament, not all of it, has been banning Tristana. They know against Frescawi that they actually don't have to do it. He barely plays the AD champions. He's so much more on the majors. Now with a Maokai, you don't have to go AD mid, but it would certainly help a bit.
Lucian and Kai'Sa, and the Kai'Sa's technically an AD.
Jace available as well.
Jace is up, but like, does Frescawi play it these days? You know, it just doesn't seem like the answer is yes. KC are going for the 3 peak.
Which is the Kai'Sa.
Okay.
That's 1 game played. He went unkilled here at EMEA Masters. And it is not a particularly popular champion. 4 games all time.
It doesn't fix their range problem. They've had a lot in these skirmishes either. And it's not like, I mean, you can still look for a better support matchup, but if Braum and Kokmo comes through again, which has been a response into Kai'Sa because of her short range, you will struggle. So they need to bandage that in their ban phase now.
Yes, they do. But why would Movistar go off the back of this Kalista ban? Because realistically, you probably want to engage here, so you
take away the Braum.
Take Braum away. If you do that, and you blind, you know, let's say the Nautilus, then the Rel can still be flexed, you can still run into an Alistar problem. It just still feels like a mountain.
And my thought process was, you take away the Braum, you still have counter pick from mid lane. You know they can't blind pick a Braum. You can enable Alvaro with his engagers and not having to worry about the fact that they've already blind
But we're not in that world. We're in the world where Yasuo is banned again.
Is this...
Scratching my head is once again the final ban is going to be that Ari. Even Alistar open this time round, and the Alistar will be locked in.
I mean, there's no reason not to go Braum plus this Pogmore, Trevor. Plain and simple. I just don't really see a world where KC have to change things up.
GB, Jamada, are we in a world right now where you are still feeling like Karmine Corp are winning the draft, quote unquote? We're going to find out what this bottom lane is in a second, but it feels a little bit that way to me for now.
I feel like the roundup will be. I think the roundup will give us our answer because, again, I feel like the world is Kalista and Targamas is pretty much Oyster. So let's see. Will it just be Kog'Maw Braum? No, they're going to take the Zeri away. Oh my goodness. Just to spice things up for game 3. And they're going to run back a relatively weak duo lane, which we saw Movistar run earlier today. So this does give Movistar the freedom to potentially look for something aggressive.
How many games has Kalist played on Zeri? I'll tell you it's 15.
Oh, okay.
How many has he won?
Oh, it's going to be something stupid like 12 or 13.
11 of them. It is
well.
his most played champion in 60 games. 15 of them are on Zeri, which is wild.
Oh, okay.
And the last second pivot, it's going to be Lucian. Okay, so we're going to get that AD mid lane. Does it fix the problems? Does it give you faith? Jamada, do you think this is looking better than 2 previous games?
Well, it's a different flavor, Trevor, so I'm already at the very least happier. Lucian should give them a little bit of earlier skirmishing priority, I suppose, but it's about how it actually gets utilized and whether or not KC can actually shut down some of that pressure that Lucian can put down potentially.
Absolutely, and I think they still have that long-range problem. They can definitely solve it if they can get the bot lane ahead, and the skirmishing around bot lane, at least for the 3v3, can be in their favor if they initiate first. You have to Alistar into the account. You can still lock him down despite how movable and flexible he is as a champion. So I'm really, once again, looking at the junglers to define this early game, and defining the early game, so far at least, has been defining the games.
It's a stronger draft than I think crucially for Movistar. Let's look at it from their POV. They're 0-2 down after all. They have the ability for Isma and Alvaro to finally play together with 2 CC tanks that can actually bounce off of their CC. They have to enable Super to get some gold, but also they have to protect Frescawi on this Lucian pick.
And it is right now that the Movistar Riders need to channel some energy from the Wildcats. If you did not watch the EMEA Masters Spring Finals, Unicorns of Love went up 2-0. But what happened was a reverse sweep. What happened was a rallying of the underdog in the Wildcats. And right now the stakes are much harder, are way higher, and they're staring into thousands of French fans. Will Movistar take us to 4? Let's find out and hit some of those rips.
Can't see nobody stopping me. There's a problem, I gotta solve it. Straight to the top, I can't see myself falling. I gotta grab it, there's no time for stalling. Number one stunning, don't have but the awesome. Now I'm fired up. I'm sorry, brother, your time's up. I see the top and I climb up. I came from the ashes, I rise up.
Movistar Riders have been getting their asses kicked for 2 games in a row, and they need to rise up from that ass kicking to turn it around. And we saw it in spring, the reverse sweep, but I do not think it is at all fair to compare the 2 series. The challenges that is going to be faced by the LVP representatives. But for the first time in 3 games, I kind of like what I see here from the Riders.
No, I kind of like it as well. I definitely think Alvaro is going to be way more comfortable on this Alistar as well. Early wards have been dropped already from Karmine Corp. You can see it there in the river. Just once again to get the information if ISMA was ever going to go for an early gank. But the Alistar level 1 is a bit trash, so they will definitely get some priority with this Seri and Rakan down in the bot lane for Karmine Corp.
Gulborg, the crowd is interrupting you because of those numbers on your screens. A line that you said to me earlier. Karmine Corp do not attempt EMEA Masters, they win EMEA Masters. 3 previous appearances, 3 EM titles, 11-0 best of. And they are 1 Nexus away from making that a 12-0, from making that 4 titles. For not only validating, but really officially confirming Seiken as the EMEA Masters fake, the king of the URLs in the tournament here. But it does mean they need to get through Super's Kalista, Super Skawi's Lucian. At least for now, the race to level 2 has started off well.
I think I will give you 3 minutes and then either killers come through or flash. And I'm looking at the 2 junglers right now to make their way down towards the bottom side. Early vision had been put down, but I think with the bot lane crash and Karmine Corp just gained for themselves, they can get even deeper vision. And this is going to be huge because Isma is only now finishing his red side. They can get a ward on the blue buff, and then they have full control of wherever he's going to be, unless they've anticipated this and he comes straight from river. That is the only avenue Isma will have for an early gank right now.
Exactly. And either way, Syncroft is going to be near and about the area to cover it, so it will be a 3v3 regardless. Really, really smart pathing, and I just know he knows.
Don't get pushed back, don't get pushed back. Woo, that's really close. Marky, learning from the 2 previous games. Look at this, look at this. Syncroft's nearby, he will step into vision if he goes into the river. Isma spotted. A horse in the river is better than a tree in the jungle. The engage comes out, grand entrance. Super's in trouble, ignited. Synchros get headbutted away. Flash from Super. Gulborg, ding, 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 you called it.
I promised you a flash, couldn't give you a kill, but this series is just predictable and in its own right. It's all about the early skirmishes, about that bot lane.
Now, the thing is, Jamada, while we've seen the same thing happen 3 games in a row, Movistar Riders have not been able to recover, have not been able to adapt, have not been able to use the strengths of their players on their comp. I want you to keep an eye and tell me if they're doing a better job this time around, because at least we do like this mid option, we do like the Maokai pivot, but they're already on the back foot.
I do feel like, in a way, this composition is a lot easier to pilot as well. It's double AD carrier frontliners, so...
It's a stack wave. They could look for it if they're really feeling themselves. Mid lane has just been pushed in by Friscoe as well.
Kalista and Target must have got their flashes. Gulborg's gone.
It's gone. It got trimmed.
Way, way, way too small for Movistar. Couldn't get it stacked, and Kalista and Targamas is chipping away at the wave as well. As I was saying, I just feel like Movistar this time, not only is the draft just, you know, generally a stronger draft compared to what we've seen in game 1 and 2, but just an easier one to pilot. So long as they don't fall behind, I feel like, you know, you're weighing 2 items, both already carries. They'll be Super going towards AD as well, looking for lethal tempo in his Keystone.
And we saw Syncroft do this in game 1. His top side is respawning, but he's going down bot. But now they're not biting this time, and they also had better vision control. You can see around the Crocs area on the minimap, Movistar Riders already anticipated Syncroft coming around this time. So we are seeing small adaptations, at least to the game 1 right now, and we still get the information. Alvaro trying to stop him. Do not get the chance.
Didn't get the chance this time around.
Oh, hold up.
A little bit short on the timing. Like you say, hold up.
But they can't. Syncroft's coming on as well. I feel like going for this dive will definitely cost you.
They've got pings. They know Isma's there. So Just going to go towards the Wolf camp, see if Syncroft makes it here in time. He is walking up and opening through the mid lane.
I asked for forgiveness ahead of what I'm about to say. But by 5 minutes in both previous games, kind of felt like Movistar Riders had lost already. Now, I want to ask whether or not that's a fair statement or not, because right now they've got a minor gold lead, minor CS advantages in mid, in top, in bot. They are pushing back. Rocky's challenging with Cabo for now, despite getting caught out with that path making. Don't tell me I cast a curse. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Flash forward. Syncroft chases. Flash away from Marky, but the tree's coming forward. Isma, I don't think he wants this fight.
Hey, hold up. He's cheating. You're not supposed to bring junglers up there.
But he did. And Karmine Corp managed to at least relent some of that pressure. But it is a small gold lead, and Jamada, I will go back to NA. Oh, the flash forward, the knockback is there!
Oh, he hit 6, he hit 6!
Go all out! Dominus is up! Marky, find the kill! The football forward! Cabo's not done with the fancy footwork! It is just Cassante things! But wait, look at the river! Here comes Friskawi! There goes Syncroft! The culling is available, it needs to connect! The stun from the shattering strike! And Movistar find first blood!
They finally found success somewhere, and it's the top side through Marky. Level 6 came in just barely in time.
Jamada, what do you hear? Nothing, because this crowd have been silenced.
Oh boy.
And they're hoping for a lot more of it. Marky's still around. They gain a lead in the top side. First blood over to Friskawi as well. Question is, what can he do with it? Marky, surely you don't die here.
Oh, let's find out.
What's it?
Slice, dice.
Oh, hold up, Marky!
Under the tower! He does it, he gets away. It's Movistar with 2. The re-engage. Super finds the kill. And Kalist, he's got the flash, he's got the cleanse. He's trying to zap and shoot his way forward. The pulverize won't find it. Super, that is a statement. That is making it clear that Movistar are here to win.
And for the first time in this entire series, Movistar Riders find their early game impact. They have finally arrived in the arena.
Welcome to the EMEA Masters Finals. Gulborg, I completely wholeheartedly agree.
So let's see how this actually plays out, because it looks like it's just Tarkamas going way too deep. The way this matchup works with Rakan and Alistar is that Rakan can pretty much never engage. He'll just get CC'd up. It's a matchup where you neutralize it and you hope to out-execute the enemy laner in the broad map scale. So by going in first, you're just allowing Alvaro to find the engage. Trading 1-for-1 here, I guess it's fine if the wave crashes. I don't really know what happened with it.
2,000 gold in the lead at 7.5 minutes. Jamada, do you know what this looks like to me? The quarterfinals and semifinals version of Movistar Riders.
Exactly, it does. Said it once, I'll say it again. Welcome to Montpellier, Movistar. Now Karmine Corp, they're on a bit of a collapse here. Isma's in trouble.
Oh, yes, he is. If a tree dies in the river, does it matter? No, because he doesn't. Kalist forced to hop over the wall with that spark. But it's right now Movistar flashing.
Topside.
And Mark almost solos Cabo. Throws down the Dominus, had that window of opportunity. No all out available for Camo. He's forced to run for his life. That CS lead growing, plus 20, 1,000 gold up for that Renekton, and another skirmish victory in the bottom lane.
Movistar need to keep this pressure high. LFL have been rocked in the last 3 minutes. And we need to see some of those poorer tendencies from their quarterfinals wins and semis fade out now. Pick up those early dragons, get them stacking, put Karmine Corp under a little bit of pressure, move the numbers around them, play the numbers advantages like you were in the 2 series previous.
Absolutely. And you can already see the bot lane control right now. It's absolutely lit up with vision. Could have the bot lane priority to finally get one of their first drakes as well. They are looking around this mid lane. Marky has the move. Syncroft around to scout though.
Now, GB, I almost feel like the vision is obviously much better than it has been for Movistar.
Yeah, hold up,
It's maybe
because I think
allowing
there's skirmish in bot side as well.
The ability to kind of like dirty farm between the towers. Keep a quick glimpse there as the Herald has been started by Marky.
All right.
Like Friskawi's going on. We'll catch a glimpse there in the bottom lane. And Super stepping forward. Hex flash, headbutt, pulverize. The taxis come
he
in.
dodges.
Super's got access to the killer instinct. The damage is down. The step forward. Super has slain Kalist.
They're diving them in between turrets, but multiple members are coming down now as well. Syncroft, Saken, can they do anything about the situation?
They've got the minion wave to escape, Gulborg. They've taxed it away from the towers. Syncroft strike will not work. Magnastorm thrown down. Alvaro is trying to use Unbreakable. He will be sacrificed. It is a stake for a fed Kalista. But what more can Friskawi do? Not enough just yet.
It's about the cross map though, right? Movistar, they got the Herald. They need to try and find something on the top side of the map. Marky's shoving Caboshot back because they want the dive and they want the tower.
Yeah, but you say that, but FLICKR should have been topside right now. Bot was a lost play as well.
Yeah,
He's
Isma's
not
on
diving
blue.
on the wave. Isma is taking the blue buff. He's completely discoordinated right now. Now he's coming around. The minion wave is gone.
He's too late to the party. There's no waves to fight with. Chuck in that football, it doesn't matter. Desheri has been dropped. Yes, take notes, Movistar. You need to figure out what's happening on the alignment. Look at the minimap. Targamas is coming top. They will get the tower. We are scratching our heads, but let's not forget the fact it is still a 4,000 gold lead in favor of the Riders.
Execution wonky, perhaps comms mixed up, but they still get the tower and the gold is going over to the Fed Crocodile. But now look at the collapse from Karmine Corp because they want to put a stop to this push forward and defend some of their camps on this top side too.
Oh, if you're a Spanish fan, start clinching just a little. Numbers advantage, grouping up in that bottom lane. It's a 5,000 gold lead. But my word, gentlemen, you were scratching your heads at those last few decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just a missed decision. FLICKR thought he could cover on the bot side, but if he was topside already, they could have punished Caboshot and denied him that entire wave as well. But just looking at the map state right now, looking at the items, it's looking good for Movistar. Static Shift already completed, Gordringer completed, Kraken Slayer completed. The items are just coming through sooner now for Movistar. It's changing the pace into a higher tempo right now. Starting up the Drakes would be very beneficial for them.
Listen, just a couple minutes ago before those first pickups, Combat Gold pre-fight was 9,000 for KC. This Leandro just bumped it a lot to the 18,000. When you look at those big items completed, Karmine Corp are now in the first time this series forced to be on the back foot, forced to defend. For the first time this series, they're in a gold deficit, and more importantly, it is a gigantic deficit. So Jamada, they are now going to be asked to do what Movistar could not. Slow the game down, find the items. I do think they have champions that can do that a little bit more effectively, especially with this Azir, but it's going to be a tough task.
Yeah, but I don't think Movistar is doing it a lot right now as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They're a little bit slow. Range disengages on the side of Karmine Corp. So we'll see exactly how they utilize these tools, but also how Movistar try to keep this pace high because Karmine Corp, I mean, this is also kind of their sweet spot. They've been behind so many times in these mid-games throughout the tournament, despite some of the very strong-looking stats and numbers they put up for earlies.
I think Movistar is allergic to Drake. They had Capo pushed in on the top side. Mid lane was shoved in. Bot lane was shoved in. You got the vision control. You're finally picking it up now. But it could have been taken earlier. The result is still the same, but it's not as clean as you'd like it.
The reality of the situation is, though, you take this into account when it comes to item break points, things like that. You're no longer fighting on third dragon to put the pressure of Soul on 5 minutes after at 2 items. The third dragon's not going to spawn for 10 minutes time. That's 22 minutes in. There's a realistic chance for K-Corp to be at an item parity, shall we say, despite the gold lead being so heavily favored into Movistar's side. So the dragon being picked up so late is still a bit of an issue. And we'll see whether or not Karmine Corp can leverage some of the time that has been bought because of that.
Isma is going to jump on top of Syncroft.
Oh, Syncroft!
What was that? It just Grass comes out, and that's going to be donating the horse. Second tower is going to be the target here as well. The largest gold lead this game was 3.6k in game 2, in which Karmine Corp had the lead with 13 minutes after 14, and the re-engage. Alvaro won the Alistair. Sets it up, but the Emperor's Divide has bought some time. Super's still got that killer instinct. You don't want to go under the tower. Well, Fuscawi will take and a couple more plates. They are continuing to pressure as the teleport is now coming in, Jamada. And it will complete. Cabo holds onto the tower.
Really crispy sidestep there by Alvaro. Could have potentially locked down another member for more kills, but teleport comes out from Cabo and it just dissuades Movistar from pressing further forward, but they still win out on the play and continue to extend this gold lead.
Yeah, I think despite the high tempo, also really good restraint from Movistar, not overdoing anything. They got the plates that they wanted. They forced them away from the farm. Teleport had to come through from Cabo. You're getting an advantage now. Marky, as slow as the Drake play was, this was really good decision making from Movistar.
Yes, it was. And I think right now what Movistar really want is just more gold wherever they can find it. I think realistically, just try and, suffocate Karmine Corp out of actually being able to place down any vision and have any kind of stronghold.
Where do the Riders go from here? We finally see them in this position, and I know we have said it several times, but this is what we were anticipating. This is what we had seen in the 2 previous best-ofs. And Jamada, just before today's series, you were talking a little bit about the path here and how Movistar maybe didn't have the same, let's say, caliber of opponents that Karmine Corp had to face off against. Now they've faced a gigantic battle. They found an answer in Game 3. How do you see them progressing this lead forward? Because they still need to make sure on the same page. They can't afford those same mishaps, misassigning like players to lanes as this game plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, one of the bigger helps. And whilst I don't typically like to lean on draft so heavily when it comes to analysis, I think it just has to be that. That is the answer, but we'll hold our breaths because Isma is looking for an engage here.
Beautiful Nature's Grasp catches all 3 members of the Karmine Corp. Seiken's Emperor's Defied is sidestepped, and this is looking free. Scores for Movistar Riders.
Montpellier has been silenced for a moment.
I love
Movistar are handing back the same medicine Karmine Corp spent the last 2 hours giving them.
Yo, I gotta admit, production, that was brutal. Have a break, breaking news because Movistar are playing well. Nicely done on that little lower third. More importantly for me, I am just happy we are seeing the Movistar that earned their spot in the finals. Something I was looking at just moments ago is for these players 2-3 times appearing, and this is the first time in a final for any of these players.
And this is where you're finding coordinated plays as well. They push in mid lane. Kalista is still clearing up the wave. He's late to the plate. They find an easy pickup on the Rakan in the beginning. Seiken desperate for an Azir shuffle, doesn't find it. Good sidestep from Frescawi, and every single thing here were just in favor of the Movistar Riders. The tempo, the execution, and the play itself.
Exactly, and this is what we need more of from Movistar, not just for the remainder of this game, but if they can push us to game 4, the remainder of the series, ensuring that Karmine Corp don't have the same level of freedom. If they can find the inch themselves, Movistar, and take the mile back.
And of course, when you do look at this gold lead, it's up to 8,000 now. This is actually a more impressive stomp than we've seen in the 2 previous games. It's not as scrappy, it's pretty clean. But Movistar still need to push through, look towards that Baron in a few minutes' time, and then try to close this game out.
Yeah, but this is the Movistar we know. This is the leads that they get for themselves, and these are the kind of games that they don't let up. Karmine Corp, though, they have been really good at finding leverage back into the mid to late game, but in a situation like this, where they're puppeteered around the map by Movistar Riders' pressure, they shouldn't be allowed to come back into it unless they start making mistakes. There is objectives bounties available, and those are the ones you don't want to give over.
Let's take a look. Rift Herald number 2 used. Combination with the Nature's Grasp. Cabo's caught himself a croc, and Alvaro might be sacrificed. Damage is out, the culling's been used. Alvaro is down. Overall, this is still an advantage for Movistar. However, they're going to lose some of this pacing, lose some of this tempo you're just talking about. And with 10 seconds to Dragon,
Absolutely.
they might lose the Dragon.
That's the point. It's the fact that now the Dragon stacking is going to go 1-all. And there probably won't be a soul in this game unless we go a very long time, gentlemen.
I'll tell you now, as soon as I started that sentence, be like, oh, it's not too bad. Both
is a bit.
Jamada and GP shook their heads and like, look at the Dragon, Trev. The first one was secured by Movistar. It was a Cloud. I know it is not showing on the HUD. The second being secured by KC is the Infernal. But importantly here, it's another step for KC. It is still a 10% odds out of 100 that they even come back. But it's those small mistakes from Movistar that give KC fans hope.
They have had this certain level of sloppiness about them, Movistar,
Yeah.
when they've been ahead in their 3-0 series. And they have to clean it up here, as they're already 2 games down.
The other thing I'll say is Frescawi on the Silas was relatively silent in both previous games. 3-0 on the Lucian plus 1.7k. I think despite the fact that Super has been in a very tough task both games, I think he looked more comfortable. He looked more impactful games 1 and 2. Now at 5-1, 2 items completed, he will be looked to by the rest of the riders to be the tip of the spear and close things out.
It's almost poetic. Even when Movistar Riders were struggling in the group stage, they lost on every single champion except the Kaiser. That was the one he remained 100% win rate on, still in this tournament. And it's now time for him to show why he was also an AD carry that was hyped up coming into the tournament final, because so far it hasn't looked like it, but it might start looking like it now.
Bam, bam, almost taken out. I'll turn to the CEO of ADC Hate. Considering the comp has 2 of them, how do you want Movistar to close this camp out?
Well, you know, Zeri's on the blue side, so I think, you know what my answer is that I think that KC should lose because they've got the Zeri. I mean, realistically right now, there's 2 items on this Kaiser, and it's that Nash's Tooth and Stack Shiv Spike, which is also powerful. So just trying to force wherever they can around it. Marquis took a massive chunk, so this siege is going to have to come to an end, but a minute's time is where the Baron will be up, and I anticipate that Movistar will look to try and burn that one down with the double AD carries that they possess.
Absolutely. They still have the wave clear, though. The thing is, it's still so early into the game that they have this lead for themselves. The map is so open that there's not a lot of things that they can collect. They're looking for a fight where they can start picking up that Baron, getting up those Baron Empowered minions, and then start the siege as well, as it becomes harder to clear them down. But finding that fight itself, it's going to be about rotating them, but also getting more vision in the blue side jungle. You can see now Karmine Corp, they're still having a strong defense up there.
Yeah, they really are. We are aware, of course, there is an Infernal Dragon on the side of the Movistar Riders. It's not, in fact, there. One Dragon, KC, one Dragon. For Superliga reps. And 20 minutes just ticking over. The thing you might not have felt for the last 5 minutes is the lead that Movistar generated was so significant in kills, in gold, and in towers that, frankly, there wasn't a whole lot of easy objectives to secure. They tried to take the inner turn, they ended up losing the Dragon. Now that Baron is up,
Baron's up though.
do not burger flip this one, Movistar.
It's about finding the turn. You have
Yes.
the ultimate with the Maokai.
Maokai.
You don't want to burn this down. You want to lure the enemy in.
Or, I mean,
Judge the
if you can
turn,
burn it
judge
quickly.
the turn, judge the turn. Alvaro finds two. The culling will take down Syncroft. The turn is beautiful, and the damage is burning through Montpellier. 2 quick kills, and they go back to Baron. There is no smite available.
A culling is exactly what it is. With no smite available, surely Movistar secure this Baron. Camo Shard, Kalist, they're going to try and make a mess of it, but I just don't think they can. There's the Baron.
Is going down. Cabo's knocked up. The Zeri stepping forward, but he's caught up, rooted back, and smashed into the face of the Movistar. Ultimately, all 5 are down in the Baron. Movistar, 10k gold up. Ladies, gentlemen, everybody else, we have a series on our hands.
Listen to that once again. There is nothing to hear whatsoever, and for the first time in this series, it's Karmine Corp finding themselves with desperate plays. You saw that right there. Capuchon, Kalist even looking for that play. You should never do that. It's a lost play from the get-go. But Movistar Riders, they played that down to a T. That was exactly what you needed to do. You started up the Baron, you looked for the turn, you cleaned them up, and you got what you wanted.
Yep. Karmine Corp, desperate to find something after their key members get picked off. The ones who are going to start up these fights, Seiken as well. Forced to dash away, still holds onto his flash, thankfully, but the turn is clean, and it's all Movistar really need. It's easy, not much to talk about, and like you mentioned, Cabo and Kalist kind of just end up giving over more in a desperation attempt to potentially just try and delay the Baron.
And it should just be played casually on 2 lanes now. Push in the mid lane, move up towards the top side, get a turret for yourself. Hold up, Marky.
Gonna be in a little bit of trouble. Still got Dominus.
Oh,
Still got that Q. Gets knocked back under the tower. Look at the healing. Tower will fall. The 5th of the game. The
Cabo.
culling almost taking out Cabo. I mean, geez, so many shots there. 2.5 items completed for Friscawi. Inhibitor turret is going to be the focus. It falls. The new wave's not necessarily set up in the other lanes, but the inhib can fall. 22 minutes in. Movistar looking to push this forward. Alvaro's Alistair is amazing this game. Sets up another kill on the Syncroft. His Rel 0-5-2. It has simply not had the influence of games 1 and 2. And that gold lead grows ever larger.
It's just so easy now. You walk up, you press the Malcore ultimate, you have Alvaro as well in the Alistar, you find a target and you kill it. And then you just get out. Mid lanes to be pushed in. Drake is alive if you want to go for it. We're not going to reach the point of a soul in this game, at least I don't suspect it. But it is just Movistar Riders taking over and taking control for once.
By contrast to what we see in the LEC, actually neither of these teams have got a huge priority or focus on the Dragons. I know, Jamada, we were talking a lot about it earlier in the series as well. And while it may not be necessarily the most impactful thing this game, it's something that you do have to keep an eye on. And look at this, Movistar, still 13k up. They're just using those last couple seconds of Baron. Just going to push this way forward.
one of those strange things, however, because in a traditional game that we've come to get used to, Movistar this far ahead would normally be on a soul point, but look at this engage!
Well, that's already a kill. Super is godlike. He gets a double. Kallista's trying to put the burst back. Seiken's coming in, got that flash, got the Emperor's Divide, and despite the damage reply, Super minions are now starting to pour up.
You can almost feel the
teleports
tension
available.
in between these two AD carries when they're eyeing each other up in a fight again, but it's 2 kills over to Super now. Minion wave coming through. And it's just going to be slowly but surely Movistar Rider taking another objective.
12 out of 16 kills for both Super and Alvaro. Finally, bottom lane is activated. Nature's Grasp, this is a definition of a zoning ultimate. It sends the bird, the electric wizard away. Tower secured 7 in the game. Don't look at me like that. Zeri's an electric wizard, really.
Sure, if that's what you want to call it, I'm not going to be the one to destroy your imagination.
The next dragon is going to pop up. Yeah, 14,000 gold up. So now it is purely a matter of stack up the waves, knock over the remaining, standing towers like dominoes. So Movistar, as long as they don't overstep, this should be clinical.
Yep, exactly. They just have to do this by the book. Dot their I's, cross their T's. They can go to a game 4. But KC, you have to remember, Seiken on Azir, Zeri will always provide a threat. until she is in the grave and waiting to respawn in the
No,
fountain.
I can hear how much hate you have in your voice,
the
just in that
vitriol.
line.
Too many times over the last 2 years.
I think it's fair to say, though, even in this scenario, not even Zeri is expected,
I don't know, man.
is expected to come back. I said expected. Zeri can,
Yeah.
but it is not expected.
Exactly.
That's where I want to
Yeah.
draw that parallel here.
You guys start with the therapy session?
No, we're not.
Okay,
We're
keep it
not.
going.
We have problems with Zeri, you know?
Look, you know, my pastime is seeing players like Ruler and so many other talented LPL AD carries pilot this champ. Well, no matter the level, it feels like Zeri can always have that turn potential. But right now, focusing back on in this game, Movistar, exactly. Isma can just look to pull the trigger with the ult, force back KC, try and claim
Follow up
another
Varo
inhibitor.
as well. Follow up
Here we go.
Varo. Got the Hex Flash already goes in. Nature's Grasp. We'll lock down Cabo. Man, that culling just melting through Zeri's HP bar.
Oh!
Void Seeker, Killer Instinct,
so-
Killer Instinct, Killer Instinct. Oh, I wanted to see
That's
it.
a way to throw the
I
game.
so badly wanted to see it. Super did go for that tower dive in the laning phase, and has dictated the rest of this game. Tower didn't get taken down, and I still look. It is still a 14 and a 50,000 gold lead. If it stays like this for 7 or 8 minutes, then I'll start to believe that KC can come back. Right now, I think that Movistar are just waiting for that small mistake, and I still don't think even Zeri can bring it back.
But it's gonna, with 40 seconds
it's
on this
Baron,
Baron,
it's Baron.
40 seconds on
Well
this
done.
Baron,
Yeah, yeah,
it's gonna
you're
come
right.
down to this.
You're right.
It's gonna be the last team fight for Karmine Corp potentially. If this goes over to Movistar, that should be the final nail in the coffin, at least in helping them close out this game.
And look at this from Movistar as well. 3 stopwatches for Scalvi, Super, and Marky. They know they need to survive in this team fight or have the flexibility of diving in freely and then having members back them up. Karmine Corp, this is the final time you're going to get any kind of look in.
Are you going to get any kills at all onto Marky, onto Isma, onto Friskawi, who at least in this game have given some more context to discuss to the
They're
fans?
just running mid.
Oh, this is so cheeky.
They use Baron as a bait, but not for the fight to open up the base. Will this backfire? Have Movistar outsmarted themselves?
Ooh,
Targa,
yeah.
waiting in the wings, got the flash, got the quickness.
They have no idea.
Wait, is that teleport being channeled? Cabo, he's joining the fray. Isma, Nature's Grasp coming to the wall. Alvaro's jumping forward. Targamas on the back. But I don't think they've got the damage. I don't think they've got the items. I don't think they've got the hit points. The CEO of ADC Hate is happy to see Zeri taken down. 1, 2, 3, 4 members of Karmine are down. It's the ace for Movistar. They can open the base and take us to game number 4.
Take us to a game number 4, Movistar. Welcome in to Montpellier. It's been Karmine Corp series so far, but in game 3, there was nothing Karmine Corp could do to stop this onslaught.
An adaptation in the draft. A Lucian pick that we were not 100% confident in, but an execution primarily led from Super and Alvaro that puts Movistar Riders on the board. It's 1-2 in your EMEA Masters semifinal.
And this was the stars that aligned finally. You saw Isma, the engine of this team, finally finding footing down in the bot side as well. The skirmishing is going in their favor, but also a bit of a mishap from Targamas and Kilis. Remember, they did get 2v2 killed. On Engage, they started themselves. So small, sloppy mistakes allowing Movistar Riders to creep back into it. But also, we gotta talk about it. It didn't mean much, but the gap in top lane as well. They found an avenue through Marky, which was a bit of a curveball we hadn't seen so far.
Yeah, that one was really interesting. Cabo was just trading a lot. He didn't really end up with a lot of mana, and it felt like he was just overstaying his welcome, and it allowed Marky to creep in. It's what he's been doing all tournament long, but Cabo stonewalled him in the first 2 games. This time around, it seems like he found a crack in that blue wall.
That's a question to everybody watching at home. Do you think magic is in the air? Do you think this is the start of the reverse sweep or a one-hit blip here from the Movistar Riders? Because spring finals featured the reverse sweep. It was magical. It was surprising.
I was becking for 5 games while this break was going on right now. I beg, please do not make this be a 3-0. Do not let it go yet.
There's one other thing I noticed, that coming into that game, the Riders sitting on stage had a looseness. I almost think they had resigned to the fact that this is a hostile environment. They were chilling back in their chairs, and almost that looseness came through in the game. We saw a side of them that we've not only seen, for the first time today, but it really had a positive impact. But now it'll be Karmine Corp that wants to adjust. Karmine Corp have side selection, Karmine Corp the ones to figure out, okay, was this a one and done, or, Movistar find the gears?
I mean, remember, if you really rack your brain, it was KC who changed things that didn't need to be changed at this Game 3. And in this weird way, they probably could have landed on stronger laning picks and things like that to try and neutralize some of these Movistar picks. So I'm wondering if perhaps...
What you're saying is it's Casey's fault. No, that's not what he's saying. That is not what he's saying.
No, I'll say it.
You're a cheeky, aren't you?
You could try and throw me under the bus, but I'll do it for you. Yes, I think so.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see exactly what they do in Game 4, because certainly I think they could have landed on stronger things to dissuade the Movistar aggression.
Oh, I love that. That is the best place to end. We're going to head to the post-match to break down game number 3. GG, guys. That was awesome.
That was awesome indeed, Trevor. Thank you so much.
job,
Back
bud.
to us here at the desk as Movistar Riders strike finally and find the solution here in Game 3. And the caster said it well. K-Corp came in with a new approach. I don't think they needed to, but also I feel like maybe Movistar Riders had more room and more tools to play with here in this game, Dagda.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the fact that you end up bringing in something like the Lucian here just opens up so much in the mid lane. The fact that you actually had control for once over the course of this series meant that you were able to lean into side lanes, you're able to make sure that Marky was able to get going at the top side, you're able to keep control over the bot lane a lot easier. It all just fell into step exactly as Movistar like to play.
100%. I think just in general in this game, how everything blew up, it started off with just an elevated sense of volatility from K-Corp's side, because their draft is very K-Corp-esque, but this is a draft that requires you to be in the mindset that you need to stabilize, and that's not something that we saw from K-Corp in this one.
This draft makes me angry for Movistar Riders. It makes me angry because in Game 2, I feel like Maokai is one of the most broken champions in the jungle right now. The setup, the push, the zoning off of towers that you can take them so easy by just shoving your ultimate and using it on cooldown. I'm mad that they didn't pick it in Game 2 because this could have been a completely different game. I feel like the fact that they unlocked themselves with the wave clear that Maokai provides for them and all the zoning that it provides for them, for the Kai'Sa and the Lucian who are so short range to play through, was great for them on this.
I mean, that's the thing. And when you're KC and you're aiming for the late game and these late game teamfights like this and you don't get there, there's not a lot of room left. But when you look at the top side and what happened there, we saw a shift, Yamato, in force. And we've been talking about Renekton, but this time around it was Marky just leading the place.
Oh, it was just such a... all of this volatility that happened on screen was invited by Cabo. He wanted to look for that level 6 kill. And then the extension. Right as topside Syncrop dies under the turret to the Renekton, you also have the kill on both sides. And all of a sudden, this composition, it wants to play out slow. K-Corp are the ones that are inviting that aggression, and that is where Lucian shines, that is where Renekton shines, and this looked like a classic Movistar game that we've seen in the BO5s, where they get the lead, hold on to it, and they snowball the game.
Yeah, and that's the big one, is how effectively they were able to snowball that lead. Like, once they got control over bot and they got control over mid, they were like, okay, well, we already have the advantages through Lucian in the mid lane with push. Well, let's start doing what we do best. Drop a lane, start to play off of 2, we'll push mid, immediately look for dives, and that was what Movistar made a name for themselves within playoffs, and we got to see it here again.
I mean, absolutely. This is what brought them success in the knockout stage, in the group stage, and we saw it here. You get this dive composition trouble, and you keep the ball running, and you keep the pace of the game, which is what they did here.
I feel like this is the essence of the Superliga. The second you're ahead in the early game and you can continuously force these skirmishes on your opponent, the ball is in your opponent's court. How do they react? Can they react fast enough? Do they have the resources? And right there, Keiko was so far behind that no matter what stun they tried to pull, they couldn't.
And it's that, but the fact that they were behind is the big one here. Again, like, think about how well they read Movistar across the course of Game 1 and Game 2. And a huge amount of that was, okay, well, we have advantages for Kliss in the bot lane. We're going to plonk him mid. Every time they try and go for a dive, he's covering there. We've got the support who's covering for Targamas, who's going to come into the mid lane as well. Make sure we're covering for any plays that are there, or an invade that's coming through. Because they're on the back foot, thanks to the picks, and because of the way the early game played out with that volatility, they're not able to match that in the same way, and that's where Movistar were able to find their success.
Can I just say it? I'm so happy they played a little bit towards Marky, man. He's one of the craziest top laners that plays all these aggressive picks, and right now he's been put a little bit on the back foot playing that Renekton, but he plays it so well. He grabs that solo kill over on the top side of the map, as you can see right here on Synchro. And the fact that Isma also takes that refill because that Renekton is 2k ahead, shoves it in the top lane, they drop down the tower, and the second that the top tower is unlocked from the top lane, the Renekton is unlocked as well, and look at him when it comes to team fights. I really love the fact that our production brought in a teleprompter that Marky beasted the lane, because that's literally what I told them as well. And it's just great. A little bit more refreshing seeing Isma play towards the top side of the map and unlocking him.
And that's what you want to see when you're going to play a Renekton like that. Just get the agency the early game, get the ball running, and also hand out the game to your teammates in the later stages of the game.
Look at him.
And just look at the sets.
And it's because, again, you're playing towards what are the strengths of the Renekton, right? When
Yeah.
we look at game 1 and game 2, they still got the Renekton, but it was like, hey, we can't really play towards the lane. We can't really play for first Rift Child either because they weren't getting mid-control to then play towards that objective. The second they tried to go for it in game 1, they got their arse smacked and they had to leave immediately. When you come into this game instead, it's, hey, we can actually set up, we've got a strong top side, we can play for early Rift Child, we can get the goal, give it to the Renekton again, and then start to play our game. And I think that was the major factor coming into this.
We have been praising every member of KC previously for what they've been able to do in game. For me, the same thing applies somehow to Movistar Riders. And as the LVM support play of the day, Alvaro getting the combo on K-Corp, and we know how strong Alistar can be in these teamfight situations, Yamato, and the champion was clutch, I feel.
I think the crucial thing, like this is a combo that was of course invited by the match start at 20 minutes. They have 2 core on AD, 2 core on mid lane as well. They just want to be the ones forcing the fights. Alvaro, when he's playing the initiator, he does it so well. I think the crucial thing that maybe this replay doesn't show, well, of course it doesn't show because I'm going to talk about the early game. The fact that they won the lane with Kaiser Alistar, usually when that happens, when that first combo lands and then boom, Kaiser Alistar gets 2v2 kills, you know you're going to be in for a rough one because if those champions snowball, Jesus, it's a lot of purple.
Moving forward to game 4, it's going to be poetic. KC choose blue side.
Surprise!
Surprise! But I think it makes sense because, again, they shifted the priorities they had into this draft, but they had everything that was working for them previously. So maybe going back to what made the team successful in the first 2 games, Yamada, what do you see for game 4?
I wonder in 4-5 if they could have made it a little bit more interesting. I think like Kog'Maw Braum into Kaiser Alistar that was showing as an angle. But the bottom line is I don't think the draft was necessarily bad because I think it was just a question of mentality. Because the preparation coming into a Movistar series needs to be in regards to how they played the early game. After 2 dominant wins, I think they just got a little bit too loose and forgot the preparation.
Yeah, I feel like this was also a KC hiccup. I mean, blue side is a side that they shine on the most, especially when it comes back to the GO series as well. Blue side was very dominant. KC was very dominant on blue side. And it's been the story of the series in this particular one as well. 2 out of 3 games, they've been extremely dominant on blue side. So why change a winning recipe? Just shove in a dog and a man with a door for a shield, and you've got a winning comp.
I mean, I don't know, Trouble. I just want to follow up on the first point you just mentioned because Quickshot was saying we will see a change in the force. Is it going to be the start of something different? Maybe a reverse sweep on the side of Movistar Riders? How do you read the situation like that?
I mean, I actually think that this actually could be a change now coming into this. I think you've now got to be way more prepared for something like a Maokai and an early pick of this AD even coming in. I think you can always go to like second rotation and ban away things like the Lucian, but honestly, if I'm Movistar, I go, right, like this AD mid really worked out. Let's try and highly prioritize that alongside the Maokai, try and get control over mid, and then we're able to step back into our game. I think they're going to call for changes from Karmine Corp on blue.
I think the key thing is just how can K-Corp secure the early game because the discipline where they play the macro game, this is where K-Corp is sharp. This is the story of the 2 teams that we saw in the previous best of 5s. I feel like the 2 first games that we saw were kind of like, whoa, we're in a big stage, big venue, K-Corp fans and Movistar Riders have finally been awakened.
I admire the fact that Movistar Riders stayed in the game. They managed to calm down, come back collected in this game 3 and bringing us to a series in the end. Movistar Riders silenced the crowd here in Montpellier. For now, to take us to game 4, we'll be back right after the break.
First blood over to Friscari as well. Question is, what can he do with it? Marky surely he's dying here.
Oh, let's find out. Slice, dice.
Oh, hold up, Marky!
Under the tower! He does it, he gets away. It's Movistar with 2.
Wait, they come tower. I put one. Go to tower. They are coming. Wait for us. Please, they are coming. Race. No flash, remember.
Nice. There's the Baron.
Going down. Cabo's knocked up. The Zeri stepping forward, but he's caught out, rooted back and smashed into the face of the Movistar.